Welcome. Take a slow, steady breath, and let your shoulders loosen as though a gentle weight has been lifted. Tonight, we will wander together through the quiet, moonlit world of the ancient astronomers. For as long as human beings have looked upward, we have been mesmerized by the slow dance of the heavens. The stars, scattered like grains of silver across a dark canvas, have guided us, inspired us, and filled us with questions. Long before the glow of cities dulled their brilliance, the night sky was a vivid presence, both familiar and mysterious. In this journey, we will not hurry. We will move slowly, step by step, through the lives and works of those who gazed upward with wonder and determination. We will explore the rhythms of their daily lives, the lives of individuals who dedicated themselves to unraveling celestial mysteries, and the monuments they left behind: stone, shadow, and alignment, marking the union between earth and sky. As we drift along, imagine yourself standing beneath a vast sky, one unbroken by artificial light. The air is cool, perhaps with a trace of damp earth rising after dusk. The horizon stretches endlessly. A hush lingers, broken only by the soft sounds of night creatures. Above, the first stars tremble into being, steady and eternal. Let us begin here, in the world of daily life where astronomy was not a separate science, but woven into survival, ritual, and the rhythms of existence. Imagine yourself as part of an early farming village thousands of years ago. Your world is small, bounded by fields, rivers, and distant hills. But each evening, as darkness falls, another world awakens above a world of luminous signs and steady cycles. The night sky was not merely a backdrop. It was a clock, a calendar, and a storybook written in light. The people of ancient Mesopotamia, for instance, lived by these rhythms. Farmers noticed how the rising of certain stars coincided with a flooding of rivers, guiding the sowing of seed and the harvesting of grain. When the bright star Sirius appeared just before dawn, ancient Egyptians knew that the life-giving waters of the Nile would soon swell and spread across their fields. Daily life was shaped by this steady conversation between earth and sky. After a long day of tending crops or animals, families would gather around small fires. The embers glowed, shadows danced across mud brick walls, and above them, constellations rose. Stories were passed down, tales of hunters, animals, and gods written across the night. The constellations were not abstract patterns. They were companions, protectors, reminders of cosmic order. In many communities, the sky also dictated sacred rituals. Priests or shamans would spend long hours watching the slow progress of the moon, the wandering of planets, and the shifting patterns of stars. Their observations carried weight, not just for marking seasons, but for interpreting the will of unseen forces. A good harvest, a sudden illness, the fate of a kingdom all could be framed by the movements above. Life under such a sky unfolded at a slower rhythm than our own. Without clocks or screens, the passage of time was marked by shadows and stars. Imagine yourself lying on a woven mat at the end of a day. There is no rush of traffic, no hum of electricity, only the occasional rustle of wind through reeds, the soft murmur of voices nearby, and the great dome of stars turning slowly overhead. Stone circles and wooden posts were raised as tools of memory. At Stonehenge, in England, massive stones marked solar and lunar events. In simpler villages, wooden poles were aligned to the sunrise on solstices, ensuring that sowing and reaping followed the proper rhythm. These were not mere monuments, but instruments, careful alignments, ensuring survival. Consider how much attention was required. Every evening, night after night, patterns were noted, compared, remembered. If the moon failed to appear on the expected night, it meant something important, something to be discussed and weighed carefully. In the daily lives of ancient people, astronomy was not a hobby, was a constant companion, as natural as breathing, as essential as fire. Even food and rest followed these cycles. Fishermen timed their journeys to the pull of tides, themselves bound to the movements of the moon. Shepherds guided flocks across landscapes lit faintly by starlight, recognizing safe paths by the constellations overhead. Entire journeys were mapped against the heavens, tiny human figures walking across the land, guided by immense patterns in the sky. The intimacy with the night sky was unlike anything most of us know today. Imagine a silence so deep that you can hear the distant howl of an animal miles, or the quiet splash of a fish in dark waters. Overhead, the Milky Way spreads like a glowing river, a pale band, so bright it casts a faint light across the ground. For ancient people, this was not a rare spectacle, it was part of the fabric of daily existence. And so the rhythm of their lives unfolded, days filled with labor, evenings with quiet watchfulness, nights under a canopy of stars that never failed to return, season after season. The constancy of the heavens provided comfort in a world where so much else was uncertain. As we linger in this gentle world of daily life, let us prepare to shift our focus. From the lives of many, we will narrow our gaze to the life of one, a figure who devoted himself to the patient study of the sky, someone whose observations would shape not only his world, but ours as well. Now, let us narrow our gaze from the broad tapestry of ancient daily life to one single figure whose quiet, steady dedication altered humanity's understanding of the skies. Imagine the world of the Greek islands in the 2nd century before our era. The air carries the scent of salt from the sea. Olive trees line the hillsides, their leaves flickering silver in the breeze. Villages cluster around harbors, and marble temples rise above them, white against the blue. At night, the sky is no less vivid than it was for Mesopotamian farmers centuries earlier, but by now. The questions asked of the heavens are more precise, more mathematical, more systematic. It is here that we meet Hipparchus of Nicaea, often remembered as one of the greatest astronomers of the ancient world. Little is known about his personal life. He lived around 190 to 120 BCE, and like so many scholars of antiquity, his own words have mostly been lost. Yet, through the works of later writers Ptolemy, among them, we sense the presence of a man who spent night after night gazing upward, recording, calculating, and comparing. The nights are clear, the stars sharp and bright. From a small courtyard, perhaps with simple instruments of his own making, Hipparchus observed the slow march of the stars. He used tools such as the astrolabe and the armillary sphere, bronze and wood contraptions designed to measure the angles of celestial bodies. These instruments, though humble compared to telescopes, demanded great skill. A fraction of a degree, measured by eye and steady hand, could make the difference between confusion and discovery. One of his greatest achievements was the creation of the first comprehensive star catalogue of the Western world. Imagine the patience it required, standing night after night beneath the dome of heaven, noting the position of each bright point, assigning it a place, and describing its brightness. Over the years, he recorded more than 800 stars, a staggering feat for one man working by torchlight and memory. Yet, Hipparchus noticed something even more subtle. Comparing his observations with records from earlier Babylonian astronomers, he discovered that the stars themselves seemed to shift ever so slightly over long periods of time. The constellations, though constant to the casual eye, were not perfectly fixed. They moved in a slow, grand cycle, what we now call the precession of the equinoxes. Think of the quiet awe such a realization must have brought. A lifetime spent tracing the heavens revealed that even the heavens themselves were not eternal in their positions. Everything moved, but on a scale so vast that only generations of patient watchers could perceive it. Hipparchus also worked tirelessly to refine the measurement of the solar year, the lunar month, and the distance of the moon from Earth. He devised methods of predicting eclipses, allowing priests and rulers to prepare for those uncanny moments when the sun or moon darkened unnaturally. To common people, eclipses could be terrifying omens. But to Hipparchus, they were opportunist puzzles to solve, patterns to uncover. Yet, for all his achievements, he was not a figure of pomp or glory. We do not imagine Hipparchus addressing vast crowds or basking in fame. Instead, we picture him seated quietly, recording figures on wax tablets, adjusting his instruments, comparing new measurements with old ones. His legacy is not one of spectacle, but of quiet, disciplined observation. And as you imagine him under the Rhodes sky, perhaps you feel the calm that comes with his work. The stars are steady, the breeze is soft, and the task is endless but soothing. Each night brings another chance to confirm a measurement, to notice a tiny variation, to contribute one more line to the slow unfolding story of the cosmos. His work reminds us that history is often moved not by dramatic gestures, but by persistence, by the quiet labor of those who return again and again to their chosen task. Hipparchus's name may not be as familiar as Galileo or Copernicus, but without his foundations, the later revolutions in astronomy would have been impossible. And so, we linger with him a moment longer, imagining the oil lamp flickering beside his instruments, and the endless dome of the night sky stretching above. From the life of one man, we now turn to the mysteries left behind by entire civilizations, where stone and shadow still mark the dialogue between earth and sky, where questions remain unanswered, and where the night itself seems to whisper of ancient secrets. Now, let us move from the life of one careful observer to the vast and mysterious works of entire cultures' monuments that still stand, quiet under the moonlight, bearing witness to humanity's ancient dialogue with the stars. Imagine yourself walking through a landscape at dusk. The air is cool and the ground is uneven beneath your feet. Ahead rises a circle of massive stones, weathered by thousands of years. Their surfaces are rough, flecked with lichen, and they stand in eerie silence against the fading light. This is Stonehenge, perhaps the most famous of all ancient observatories. Even now, its precise purpose is not fully known. Yet archaeologists agree that it was carefully aligned with the movements of the sun. On the morning of the summer solstice, the sun rises directly above the heel stone, casting its rays into the heart of the circle. On the winter solstice, the setting sun aligns with another axis. For the people who raised these stones, this was no accident, it was intention carved into earth and sky. The mystery lies not only in the alignment, but in the effort. Imagine the quiet determination of a community that moved stones weighing up to 40 tons across many miles. With ropes, wooden rollers, and sheer persistence, they raised each block into place. All for a structure that marked not the glory of kings, but the rhythm of the cosmos. Stonehenge is not alone. Across the world, similar monuments stand. In the high plains of Peru, the Nazca Lines stretch across the desert floor, geometric shapes and vast figures of animals traced into the earth. Some align with solstices and celestial events. From the ground, they are difficult to see. From the sky, they emerge in striking clarity. The mystery deepens. Who walked these lines, night after night, marking their paths beneath the silent stars? In Central America, the Great Pyramid of Chichen Itza, in the Maya world, holds its own secret. On the equinox, as the sun sets, light and shadow combine to create the illusion of a serpent undulating down the side of the pyramid cocon. The feathered serpent deity descending from the heavens to earth. This is architecture as performance, built on precise astronomical knowledge. The Maya, with their intricate calendars, tracked the movements of Venus and the moon with astounding accuracy. For them, time itself was sacred, measured not just in days, but in cycles of cosmic harmony. Even farther back, in ancient Egypt, the Great Pyramids of Giza rise with deliberate alignment to the cardinal points. Some scholars suggest correlations with Orion's belt, the stars that glitter so brightly in the winter sky. Whether intentional or coincidental, the thought lingers. Were these immense structures both tomb and star map, anchoring eternity to the heavens? Archaeology brings us closer, yet mysteries remain. Excavations uncover instruments, carvings, and fragments that hint at observation. One of the most intriguing is the Antikythera mechanism, recovered from a shipwreck off the coast of Greece. A corroded lump of bronze, later revealed to be a complex system of gears. When reconstructed, it showed the ability to predict eclipses, track planetary positions, and calculate the timing of games held in honor of the gods. Built over 2,000 years ago, it has been called the world's first analog computer. Imagine holding it in your hand, turning a small crank, watching delicate gears rotate, each one echoing the turning of the heavens themselves. Yet, even here, under the scrutiny of modern science, mystery lingers. How widespread was such knowledge? Was it confined to a few scholars, or did entire communities participate in its secrets? Were other such devices lost to time? In every culture, we find this same impulse to anchor human life to celestial patterns. Some raised stones, others traced lines across deserts, others built pyramids, ziggurats, or observatories of wood and clay. Each structure, each artifact, whispers of long nights spent watching, measuring, and aligning. Now, imagine walking among these ancient sites by moonlight. The stones cast long shadows. The desert air is cool. Perhaps you hear only the faint rustle of wind or the distant cry of a night bird. You pause, standing in a place where countless others once stood, eyes turned upward. Their questions were much like ours. Why do the stars move as they do? What governs their cycles? What meaning can be drawn from their steady return? And so, archaeology offers us fragments, pieces of the puzzle. But the deeper mystery remains. The quiet determination of humanity to bring order to the vastness of the cosmos. As we leave behind these silent stones and enigmatic devices, let us turn to another layer of this story. Not the farmers and builders, nor the solitary scholar, but the rulers and elites who relied upon the stars for power, for legitimacy, and for the rhythm of their courts. As we move onward, imagine the same night sky we have been traveling beneath. The stars are unchanged, their patterns steady. Yet below, on Earth, life takes many shapes. For farmers and herders, the sky was a guide for planting, traveling, and telling stories. But for rulers, priests, and courts, the heavens served another role, one of authority, prestige, and power. Picture the royal courts of Mesopotamia. Within the walls of great palaces, scribes inscribed clay tablets with careful symbols, recording the movements of stars and planets. These records were not simply scientific logs. They were political instruments. A king might ask, what does the rising of Venus foretell? Will it bring victory in battle or disaster for the throne? Priests, trained in celestial interpretation, held great influence. Their knowledge of the heavens became a kind of language through which rulers sought reassurance, sought justification. In Babylon, astrologers served at the pleasure of kings. Each eclipse, each unusual conjunction of planets was noted, discussed, and framed as an omen. For the common people, such events were uninspiring but distant. For rulers, they were bound to decisions of state, when to wage war, when to build, when to marry. The stars, impartial and eternal, were drawn into the service of human power. The same was true in ancient China, where imperial astronomers worked with meticulous care. In Beijing, centuries later, a great observatory would rise, filled with bronze instruments. But even in earlier times, the emperor was said to be the son of heaven. His mandate to rule was reflected in celestial harmony. If the skies showed strange disturbances, comets, eclipses, or unseasonable weather, it was read as a warning that the emperor had lost favor. Thus, the careful observation of the heavens was not a quiet pastime, but a matter that could affect dynasties. Imagine the contrast. In a distant village, a farmer looks to the moon simply to know when to plant millet. Meanwhile, within palace walls, court astronomers calculate the same moon's movement, knowing that a miscalculation could anger the ruler, or worse. The stars were impartial, but their interpretations could shift the lives of millions. In the Maya world, too, the heavens were deeply tied to power. Priests and rulers oversaw rituals aligned with celestial cycles. Great temples were not only sacred spaces, but also Observatories. Standing atop the high steps of Chichen Itza, a ruler could align ritual acts with the rising of Venus or the turning of the solstice sun. To challenge the ruler was, symbolically, to challenge the stars themselves. And so we see two worlds beneath the same sky. For ordinary people, astronomy was woven gently into survival and storytelling. For the elite, it became an instrument of control, justification, and awe. In both realms, however, the night sky was a constant companion, sometimes a friend, sometimes a mystery, always a presence. Imagine, then, a royal court at night. Torches flicker, casting warm light across polished stone floors. Courtiers whisper in hushed tones. On the palace walls, the city settles into sleep. Yet above, the stars move steadily, indifferent to the grandeur below. Perhaps the king looks upward from a balcony, seeing the same constellations as the shepherd in the fields beyond. The difference lies not in the stars themselves, but in the meanings drawn from them. This contrast, the shared sky, interpreted in many ways, brings us gently back to our present moment. Tonight, we too have walked beneath the ancient heavens, through the lives of farmers and scholars, through mysteries in stone, and through the courts of kings. And always the moonlight guided us, steady and calm. As our journey draws to a close, let the imagery soften. You may picture yourself once more lying beneath an open sky. The air is cool, the earth firm beneath you. Above, the stars continue their slow, timeless dance, just as they did for Hipparchus, for Maya priests, for Egyptian farmers, for all who came before. The heavens are vast, yet they are also steady companions. They have guided human hands to sow and reap, to build and to rule, to question and to wonder. And now, in your own quiet moment, they offer something simpler still. A rhythm to breathe with. A calm expanse into which your thoughts may drift. As you let your mind rest, know that the stars will continue their turning, tonight and always. Their constancy asks nothing of you but to be still, to look upward, or to close your eyes and trust their presence. And so, we leave the ancient observatories in silence, bathed in moonlight, their stones still aligned, their mysteries still waiting. The night is vast, calm, and eternal. You may rest in its embrace,